Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. Now, slight spoiler alert, this episode might not end up being canonical. Basically, quite a few things happen in this episode that I quite enjoyed. I thought, yeah, that looks good, that works really well. We'll stick with that. And then there are some things that happen in this episode that, you'll see for yourselves in a little bit. Basically, I'm not particularly happy with and might not end up sticking around for too long. Now, we're at this point in the game where we're leaving the dark ages of Steam and we are starting to head towards diesel technology and electric and progression, basically, is what I'm trying to say. High-speed tracks are already available, which I'm confused about because it's 1928. But yeah, high-speed tracks are available. And yeah, we're at this stage now where you see overhead wires are now available. I don't think we actually have any. Oh no, we do have an electric vehicle. We have the crocodile one, which I always forget the name of. I think its nickname's the crocodile. But yeah, that's now available. So there's a possibility. And I think there's a couple of other I think obviously we've got electric trams now, and there's we've got a new aircraft as well that I was going to bring in, but I haven't, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in this episode. But let's start off with what you're seeing on screen right now. So we're rebuilding Hereford Station, first and foremost. We are keeping it as a station that can terminate trains, but ultimately it's becoming more of a through station now. It's been resited slightly. It's got brand new approach lines. It's got 2 freight platforms now, which I think it had anyway, but it's got them properly now, slightly off to the side here with these flat junctions. And then we've got slow line, fast line configuration. That's step 1 of this episode. And the reason that I've built this is because we're starting to look at running trains from Hereford down to or up to Maltby Parkway, which is the current northernmost tip of our network. That's stage 1 of this build. Stage 2 is connecting up some lines to the new approaches to Maltby and running some new services. Now, autosave here took a very, very long time, to the point where I thought I'd actually broken the game. Thankfully, I hadn't. It was okay, although I kind of wish it had, because maybe I would have taken my senses and not done what I'm about to do here. The reason I say about spoilerish and canon and things like that is because I basically bankrupt the company doing this. There are times in this game where the economy catches up with you and you might think you've got a lot of money in the bank, but then you commit to a big spending project and suddenly you haven't got the income that you thought you had. Effectively, you could have a lot of money, but your network could be at a stage where it's barely breaking even. So you'll never lose money, but you won't gain it either. And that's what I think's happened here. So I'm trying to build a station here at Seaford, and I'm looking at these really expensive options, thinking, it's fine. I've got so much money right now, it's absolutely fine. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought, this is stupid trying to build an underground station anyway, because we haven't got the ability to build heavy slopes like we used to. So that wouldn't work. So I went with this elevated option, and you can see we've got, was it 13 million there? And I've just spent like 2-3 million on that station. Therein lies the first mistake. Then building these bridges. Again, I thought, we're dripping in money. No biggie. So I spent, 74,000 there, I think it said there. And then, almost $1 million building this part of the bridge. And then we sloped down. All these extravagant embankments and things like that. And that money in the bottom left corner, you watch it go. It just goes down and down and down and down and down until eventually we hit minus numbers. And that becomes a real problem. Because if your company isn't making enough money to do more than just break even, and then you start hitting negative numbers, you will never recover from those negative numbers. You are perpetually stuck in negative numbers. Now, as it turns out, there is a way of fixing that. It's one that I've been doing. Cost cutting. Which is something, in Football Manager, I actually quite enjoy cost cutting. You start going through and you're looking at players' wages and you're deciding which of your high earners you should actually keep and which you should sell. You never know, you might get lucky and a transfer offer might come in for one of your top earning players. You might not want to sell them, but you might not have a choice. This game doesn't really simulate that very much. It's not like someone's going to come in and buy one of your trains off you. So you are kind of stuck at this point. And it does become a bit of a slog. You can still cut down costs, like I said. You can replace your trains with cheaper ones. Cheaper to buy, cheaper to run. You could also, cut down on the number of services you're running. To be honest, on Discord a while ago, George was talking about cost cutting on his network. And I was looking at it thinking, God, you must have really built some bad lines if you're having to cut them back because of recessions and stuff like that. The game doesn't have recessions built into it, to my knowledge. So it's not like the Wall Street crash, which did happen in 1929, by the way. So we're not far off it in here. But it's nothing like that. It's just passenger movements change over the years. People change their minds about where they want to go and how they want to get there. Cars become faster. People start taking faster options to and from locations, and sometimes your railway or your bus or whatever it might be isn't the faster option anymore. And that's the wake-up call. That's when you start looking at your services and you start cutting things back and refining them. Already I can tell one thing that I would do here is reduce the number of tracks from 4 down to 2. That's one of the first things I would do. I would have also perhaps not built these tunnels because they were quite expensive. The bridges were also quite expensive, but there wasn't much I could do there because you can't build flat across a river. I mean, you can, but you block your boats off. So that's, another expensive mistake. This as well. You can already see we're in the minus numbers. I think I managed to build this bit just by waiting. Thing is, we have got some high-paying trains. And this is the conflict that I've got now as well, is my passenger trains can pay 2 million per journey, especially if they go all the way from Maltby down to Richmond, which is what we end up doing here. The problem is they're not very quick right now. I think our fastest passenger train is 80 miles an hour, and we've got lines that can go up to 125. So clearly we're not running at our maximum speed. That does affect cargo payment. It's about speed. It's about straight line distance. The longest distance pays more, but it's also about how quickly you can transport stuff. If you can transport stuff quickly, you get paid more for it. Rebuilding this station as well, by the way, meant I had to truck food into the part of Hereford that actually requires it. It might actually be worth me having a food train that just circuits the map now. Starts off at Chipping Norton, goes all the way up to Maltby via, say, Blackburn, then loops round and comes all the way back down to Chipping Norton via Hereford. So it's kind of making money in every direction it travels in. That's not a bad idea. Saying it out loud, that's not a bad idea. I might actually go ahead and do that. This as well, by the way, so I connect that road up, I connect this one up, and I liked the gradual slope, and I got vanity and thought, I could do that with the other road too. So I end up demolishing this road here and then rebuilding it, which again I didn't need to do. It was a massive waste of money. Do you know what? Already I'm actually leaning towards not making this episode canon. Still showing you guys what I did, obviously, but actually going back next week and redoing this and making it cheaper and doing bare minimum, which is something I did in OpenTTD from time to time. It's actually something I'm doing in Railroads Online at the moment, is doing the bare minimum and then in the future coming back through and actually making it more complex. You can see what the struggle is here. Just waiting for enough money to come in. And again, we don't actually need this road. We are connected. We've got that one street that goes up to the station. People can walk to the station. They don't need to have 2 roads. That's purely for cosmetic reasons. No other reason. I think the bus might actually use it, but they only use it because it exists, They don't actually need it. And then we build this really expensive bus stop as well. And now we've got this stupid elevated station for no reason. I don't actually know if I've unlocked elevated platforms yet. I hope I haven't, because that would be annoying to discover that as well. Now we're over here at Maltby Parkway, and I'm looking at how to connect this up. I go with the idea of a fairly complex junction. Fairly complex, but also compact. That's the word I was looking for. Complex, but compact. So we got these bridges here, which I like. That one there, the brown, orangey brown one, I think looks very nice. Again, we're waiting for the money. You will see a lot of waiting for money now in this part of the episode. I should have sped this bit up slightly faster, in fact, so that you didn't have to sit here waiting for as long as I had to. I think in total, it's like an hour and 15's worth of footage here. And I've obviously knocked it down to like half an hour. But there was a lot of off-camera stuff as well. There was one point where me and my partner were having dinner together, and I just left the game on ×3 speed, hoping for the money to come in. This is where I'm really debating whether to take out a bank loan or not, just to get this finished. And you can see it didn't take me long to make my mind up. I think I went with like 20 million. I didn't know what the maximum was. I didn't want to hit the maximum. I do now know that the maximum is 30. I think you'll see me reload the game a little bit later on in the episode as well, because I hit the ceiling. And I mean, that's always a depressing moment when you realize you can't actually borrow any more money. Considering how profitable my company has been over the videos, you would think that the loan would have gone up by more by now. But again, I don't know what kind of economy settings are simulated in this game. The Wall Street crash might just be around the corner for all we know. We are heading into the 1930s, and as we know, a lot changed in the 1930s regarding economy. So, you know, it might be super realistic what's going on here right now. Might be too realistic, in fact. Some people might be getting flashbacks. Doubt it. I don't think anyone who watches my videos was alive in the 1930s, but you never know. I'm talking gibberish. I'm basically killing time right now whilst waiting to see what's going on here. I do remember what goes on here perfectly, but when you speed it up, you kind of forget where all your timings were and everything. So yeah, we built these bridges here. We built these embankments, which probably it is cheaper to build a bridge than an embankment. But I think building the embankment here wasn't a bad idea. What was stupid is what you're about to see on the slow lines, which is I built another flyover, similar to the west side of the station. Again, based on the approaches to King's Cross, where the slow line and the fast line, the slow line passes over the top of the fast line. And do I regret it? Yep. Yeah, I do, actually. You're probably expecting me to say no, but I do. I think a lot of this was money wasted, to be honest. And was it necessary? It probably wasn't. I could have just built it as a flat junction, and we could have just got on with it. But instead I built this elaborate... To be honest, just looking at it here, I might have been able to do it as a dive under, which I think is cheaper than a flyover. I think. I'm not 100% certain. But also this realistic slopes thing that I've got. You can see there how it starts to screw me when I can't actually link these rails up properly. And that's when it becomes a slight irritation. Here we are then with the start of the flyover. The pointlessly expensive flyover. And you can already see just how pointless it is and expensive. There's the flyover itself, and then it takes me like 6 miles to bring the track back down to the level that it needs to be at. It doesn't help that the main line here is also sloping away downhill towards... Is it Seaford? I think it's Seaford. I've not really spent much time at the new station, and it's going to be, as I said, eliminated from history at this rate anyway, so definitely going to spend less time there. I think, again, like the first few episodes of this series, I think this is a good lesson to learn at this point, that you're not invincible. No matter how much money you might have in the bank, you are not invincible. Your money can be lost at any moment. If you build something that's way beyond your means, you will lose the money. And you can see here how much I'm struggling to actually build a realistic slope here. Look how far back I have to go. And even there it's saying too much slope. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Because, again, the main line is sloping away. as the flyover is built, like where the flyover is, the main line actually slopes down at that point, and then it's impossible to get it back up to the right height again, or to get it down to the right height. I don't really know. It depends what direction you're traveling, I suppose. Same with this one. They're different slopes, different levels of slope. So again, they're not compatible. They don't fit. I'm having to go right the way back pretty much to get them to actually work. There you go. That now connects. And then that one comes in too. And then we got this 4-track main line. So one of the things that I would do, doing this again, is I would make the main line here 2-track, not 4. I think we've got enough in terms of performance now from our freight engines as well, where it doesn't need to be 4-track everywhere. The area around M4J junction could probably do with being 4-track still, but the rest of it could probably be 2. I don't think it needs to be 4. I think I had some issues here with these bridges as well, to do with the slope, I believe, or to do with the fact that the bridges were colliding. It was something like that. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But yeah, this is the connection now. It's technically complete. I do build some junctions here as well, some crossovers and such. And I also want to say, actually, quickly, to do with money, it's not the taking out of the loan that destroyed the company. It's not because I took way too big a loan out or anything like that. Because the loan interest is only, I want to say like 600,000 every. I don't know what the finances are actually split into, whether it's quarters or whether it's months. It doesn't seem to be months. I think it's quarters. But it wasn't a huge expense. What killed it was I've had this game, I guess you could say, running for a long period of time. Like, I've not progressed through time. I actually stopped the time advancement after this episode as well, just to stop the game actually progressing time-wise. I wanted to make sure that we didn't unlock like super high-speed vehicles and stuff like that. So right now we're permanently locked in 1928 until I can figure out how to fix this economy problem. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so I've had the game running for a long period of time, and the fact of the matter is vehicles are getting really, really old, and we don't have, so buses, for example, we don't have brand spanking new buses. I don't think we do with trams either. So there's not much there I can do other than just replace the current vehicles with new ones. Now, I did some Googling in the past as to whether or not this game had an auto-renew. I don't believe it does, which is kind of annoying because, believe me, I would love that feature right now. I know the devs are working on an update to make the game, to add more tycoon features is what they described it as. Like being able to stop in multiple platforms, have a single service stop in multiple platforms at a station. I think that's great. I think that's perfect. Hopefully one of the things they bring in with that is auto renew. It would be nice to actually have vehicles, when they get to a certain age, go into a depot, or actually, yeah, it'd be cooler if they did it by going into a depot and auto renew, get replaced with either a brand new vehicle, new type, or a newer version of the current type. That would be awesome. Devs, if you're watching, please try and add that feature. Even if you can't do it for whatever reason, just have a little go. You never know. Because that's what screwed me here, is we've got too many vehicles costing too much money, and we could start going and consolidating. One of the things I actually did, I can't remember if I've mentioned this already, but I've stopped the planes. They weren't making any money. In fact, they weren't transporting any passengers. I don't know whether I did something wrong, whether there's a bug to do with airports. I don't know. But no one was waiting at the airport to travel to anywhere. Anywhere that the airport goes. No one was going to M4J Airport. No one was going from Crayford. No one was going from Maltby. So I've stopped the services. I've removed the lines. And I've gotten rid of the airports as well, because the infrastructure maintenance was £1 million per whatever the bracket is on the finance screen. So that was costing me, I think it was like 2 million each time, which you don't need me to tell you is a ridiculous ridiculous amount of money. So that's gone. What was the other thing? Oh, I've cut back on some of the vehicles on lines. So I've not removed vehicles from lines, but I've cut. So for a train for an example, a train with 4 carriages now only has 3. It saves on running cost. I did check capacity to see if that would be an issue. It seems to not be. Again, I could just run the game in fast forward for a bit and see what the future holds for this setup. But yeah, a lot of the expresses, so the one that runs up from Richmond to Maltby via Blackburn, I removed a carriage from all of those trains. And actually in doing so, I was able to afford, I think it was 3 trains running on it, and I was able to afford a 4th train. Which might sound like I'm doing the opposite of what I should be doing, but I think this is actually the smart way of doing it. So what I did was effectively reduce the amount of capacity that a single train could carry, but by doing so, add an additional train that increases the overall line capacity. So also the frequency of trains has now increased. Some of these trains were running full, but by removing a carriage, obviously they would still run full, but be able to carry less people. But by then adding another train, you can carry more people within the same time period. I'm trying to think, does that make sense in my head? I think that makes sense in my head. It's whether or not that's actually true or not. Basically, I've added an extra train. I've made the money to add an extra train. This line that I'm adding here right now, this is just an express line. It hasn't got any trains running on it yet. But I wanted to have an absolute express that runs from Richmond to Richmond via, all the main stations along the route. And then it basically does the journey twice. So it goes from Richmond West, to Richmond East via anti-clockwise around the loop, the Maltby loop, and then it goes from east to west clockwise around the loop. So it kind of forms it's like a ribbon shape. I'm trying to think what it's called. It's like a Mobius loop, but without the bottom bit, if that makes sense. Actually, that's not what a Mobius loop is. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, you saw there I saved the game under a new save file name because I knew that the money was starting to get tight. Have I finished building now? I think I've finished building. Have I done the signalling? Yeah, it looks like I have. So at this point, it's just about getting these little extra details finished. So Hereford Bus gets a little rejig. I don't know if this breaks the mod, by the way, that auto adds new vehicles to a bus route or any passenger route minus a train that's overpopulated. I've no idea. But I realised that the train was slightly out of reach of the town centre now. So I rejigged it slightly. Added the bus in, added the food truck in as well. Don't actually know whether the food truck's making money. All I know is our road vehicles right now are losing money. So it might be a case of going in and finding out what's going on here. One thing I have to do is go through the lines panel and work out which lines are losing money and can I do something about it. So I think boats make money, aircraft won't, trains make money, and road vehicles don't. So there might be some consolidation with road vehicles. I imagine the passenger vehicles might make money, and it's probably the grain or something like that. But again, I'll fire the game up later today, and I'll have a look-see and see what I can do. Because I don't think this map is finished. That's for sure. I think there's a lot still that needs to be done. One thing I desperately regret, though, with this map is the fact that I'm just thinking what I'm doing on screen here. Is the fact that I didn't add more towns. I thought it would be more of a challenge to spread the towns further apart. But you see the gap between Hereford and Seaford. Is it Seaford or Seaton? I think it's Seaford. Hang on. It is... I believe that says Seaford. Again, my preview's on quarter resolution, so it's hard to see words, but I can see roughly what's going on. Yeah, the gap between... I mean, even between Seaford... I'm going to call it Seaford, wherever it's called. It's Seaford now. Between Seaford and Maltby, you could probably fit another 2 towns in there. And for the expresses, obviously, they're not going to make much of a difference. But for the stoppers, like this one is, that would be a huge, huge difference to actually run to these other towns along the way. Now, then it might be possible without having to restart the map that I can add some additional some additional towns into the game. Maybe. If I do that, though, it's probably going to cost money, and it's money that we don't have. And I really don't want to use any money cheats in this. I want to do it all organically and try and work out how to actually get it done, basically. This is the part where I screw up royally. So you've just seen me add this Luton line in. And what you're about to see is I follow the train for a bit, and I'm trying to pay off the loan. So every time the money goes positive, I quickly pay off the loan. And I think I do end up paying off the loan. But then I also take out a £30 million loan just to see what the limit was. Immediately drop into the red, so can't pay off the loan. Stuck with this £30 million loan. And I didn't save the game after redoing this line. So I end up having to reload the game and then redoing the line. Which is very, very annoying. But I have now since redone it. And I think it works. So yeah, next week's episode might be a live episode, and it might just be me going through and consolidating the existing services, existing lines, finding out where we're losing all of our money. You can you guys can see the finance screen right now. I can't read it very well. You can see which parts of the network are gaining and losing us money. I moved the box like that because I felt like it was blocking the majority of the screen. But then I realized, actually, no, it's kind of useful for you guys to be able to see it and see the numbers, especially as I knew I was going to talk about it. So, again, you can see what's costing us money here. I haven't done individual breakdowns of each part. Obviously, if a type of transport is losing money, it doesn't really matter whether it's infrastructure maintenance or vehicle maintenance or anything like that. The fact of the matter is, it's losing you money. Oh, yeah, stifling a sneeze there. Obviously, I'm allergic to my own words. So yeah, trying to pay off this loan was a nightmare. I thought this would be a good opportunity to watch the train actually travelling along the journey, which is why I chose to follow it here. We do whip through some trees there, though, so I hope you got the branches out of your teeth. And that's pretty much it for this episode, to be honest. We've got a couple more minutes. So yeah, I want some advice. I'm going to post this on Reddit and things like that and just ask for advice at this point. Do you think it's worth forgetting this build ever happened and jumping back to episode, what's this one? This one's 29. So jumping back to where we were at the end of episode 28 with the simplified junctions? Or do you think we should live with our mistakes and actually try and consolidate and make this work? Personally, I do like the idea of consolidating. One thing you've got to be careful of, if you've got a huge production line, so we've got, grain to plastic to goods to final destination. We've also got, wood to planks, and then the planks get taken down to Holsworthy and things like that. I don't want to get rid of a line that breaks the production chain. So if there's one that's losing money, but it's part of a chain that makes money, then obviously I'm going to keep the chain. So we are going to have a couple of lines there that lose money. But if there's a couple of passenger lines, for example, that aren't making money, then there's no point in having them. So I will cut them. And I might adjust an existing line to make up for that and maybe move the vehicles onto the new line or onto the existing line. Cascade vehicles around as well. One thing I learned from building this massive loop via Maltby, by the way, trains can now use that loop to access. So pretty much the depot that we've got only faces Richmond, so it doesn't really work very well. But had we pointed it in the other direction, trains would have still been able to get to Richmond by going all the way up to Maltby, round and back, which sounds great, but it's not very practical. There's me completely messing up the loan and reloading the game. And at this point I thought, should I even be recording still? And I end up cutting the recording just after it loads. Yeah, it's not very practical to have the trains going all the way up to Maltby and round and back again. So I do get rid of that as a concept. It was a nice idea, but it didn't really work out very well. But yeah, we are coming up to the end of the episode, guys. So I will say thank you very much for watching. Do leave those comments down below. Let me know what you want me to do. You can message me on Reddit as well. Comment on the Reddit post or Discord. If you join the Discord, links in the description. Let me know what to do. Right now, I am going to go in to episode 30 thinking we're just consolidating lines, but it might end up becoming another non-canon video. We'll see. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. It really helps me out. Drop those comments, like I said. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. I'm not going to let you sit here and watch this load screen any longer, so I'm going to say thank you again for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.